This is a real war. This isn't going to be just, a back and forth tete-a-tete over the next 24 hours. This is a conflagration.
Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people.
Donald Trump said last night that this was going to be his words, a massive and ongoing military campaign. And he also called it major combat operations. Now, those words have very specific meanings.
According to John Kiriakou, what's unfolding isn't a limited strike or a short-term escalation. It's a full-scale regional conflagration that the public has been dangerously misled about. Kiriakou's conclusion is chilling. The US and Israel must win. Iran only has to survive. And chaos, the kind that destroyed Libya, may not be a tragic byproduct, but the actual objective. This isn't about democracy, security, or peace. It's about reshaping regions through instability and letting millions pay the price.
For 47 years, the Iranian regime has chanted death to America and waged an unending campaign of bloodshed and mass murder, targeting the United States, our troops, and the innocent people in many, many countries. For these reasons, the United States military is undertaking a massive and ongoing operation to prevent this very wicked, radical dictatorship from threatening America and our core national security interests.
I think that he enjoys looking like a military strongman. And I think that he thought that a quick decapitation strike, the Iranians would be dancing in the streets, thanking him and thanking God, and he would go down in history as, as Teddy Roosevelt.
For many years, you have asked for America's help, but you never got it. No president was willing to do what I am willing to do tonight. Now you have a president who is giving you what you want. So let's see how you respond. America is backing you with overwhelming strength and devastating force. Now is the time to seize control of your destiny and to unleash the prosperous and glorious future that is close within your reach.
Well, things are bad all around. I spoke to friends of mine in Kuwait, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates yesterday. It's funny. I talked to a Qatari, the son of a senior Qatari official yesterday, and he just kind of chuckled and said, well, this is life in the Middle East. We live in a dangerous neighborhood. My friends in Dubai were panicked. The Burj Al Arab, the giant ultra luxe hotel that's shaped like a sail. The Iranians sent a drone to blow up on it. The drone was intercepted and hit in the air. But when it exploded against the hotel and set the hotel on fire. The fire was put out, but there's significant damage. The Iranians sent drones to attack the Burj Khalifa, the tallest building in the world. They hit it with 2 drones. Maybe even more importantly, though, Manama Airport in Bahrain is unusable. It has to be closed for a while and repaired. The Iranians, the Iranians can't win this thing, of course, but they can put up a fight and they can put some hurt out on the Gulf Arab states. A peaceful transition of power from the current regime to some substitute regime is in U.S. interests. Chaos and death is what is in Israel's interests. Dubai is chock full of Iranian businessmen, and that's Iran's outlet to the Western world. That's how Iran evades sanctions, by having businesses in Dubai. So I think, no, hitting Dubai is not going to help Iran at all. And the thing, too, is that I think that in the West, we seriously overestimated Ayatollah Khamenei's authority. Mm-hmm. Certainly, he was the final word on religious issues, certainly. But you can take him out, and have literally nothing change. The New York Times just issued a push notification saying that the Iranian foreign minister says that a new supreme leader will be chosen in the next day or two. So there it is right there. Nothing changes. You can take out the Pope and there's just going to be another Pope. If China wanted to invade Taiwan, they would have done it 2 days ago. And the Russians are very happy to see us distracted in fighting the Iranians so they can focus on the Ukrainians and not have the American monkey on their backs. The US and Israel have to win. The Iranians just have to survive. And that is much, much easier than winning. In this odd scenario that we're in right now, Marco Rubio is both Secretary of State and National Security Advisor. And so this is Marco Rubio's policy. We learned from this leak from the White House last week that J.D. Vance was opposed to an attack on Iran. Tulsi Gabbard was opposed to an attack on Iran. And the chairman of the Joint Chiefs came out and said that he was opposed to an attack on Iran. Who does that lead? Marco Rubio. That's it. Marco Rubio is running this policy. If I were, the leader of Bahrain, I would be genuinely worried today. If I were the Pakistani government, I would be genuinely worried today. If I were even an Indian leader, I would be worried about what my population in Kashmir would be doing right now. The Saudi royal family, they've got to be on the verge of cracking down in the eastern province, which is almost entirely Shia Muslim. There's a real risk today.
Right.
And I think that might be what pushed Trump over the edge to make the decision to actually attack. That, that every time Netanyahu flies to Washington, he's going to say, please attack Iran, please attack Iran, please attack Iran. It's an entirely different thing for the Israelis and the Saudis to be on the same sheet of paper. I think that's what convinced Trump to do it. I think that's the Trump plan. And I think that was the plan from the first Trump administration. You remember the love fest that Trump and Modi had in Texas when Modi came to the United States to address Indian Americans living in Texas? It was a love fest, and they had to have it in a stadium to hold 50,000 people. So I think that Trump, and I should add, this started with Bill Clinton. This is not Donald Trump's idea. But I think that the idea is to improve ties to India, to make relations between the U.S. and India as close as possible so that we have an ally on that side of Iran, and we have a strong and populous ally that can sort of offset some of the bad juju that we have in the Middle East. I think what the Israelis want in Iran is what the Israelis got in Libya. Chaos. They want chaos.
If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you never miss out on our latest content.
Utterly opposed for a number of reasons. First of all, it's congressionally undeclared. The Constitution is very clear. There should be a congressional declaration of war. And that hasn't happened. Not only has that not happened, Congress hasn't even been briefed. And so our elected officials have no idea what the policy is. Is the president telling us the truth when he says that this is going to last a few weeks? Because later in the afternoon today, he said that this could go on for months. And what's the goal? It's easy to start a war. It's easy to overthrow a government. It's very, very difficult to stabilize a region and then pull out safely. Did we learn nothing in Iraq or Afghanistan? So I'm gravely concerned about this whole thing. That tells me that they thought the entire Iranian government would collapse as soon as hostilities were initiated. That hasn't happened, and they're starting to worry about a plan B. Also, I learned just in the last couple of hours that the United Arab Emirates has 7 days worth of surface-to-air missiles left, and Qatar has 4 days worth of surface-to-air missiles left. Both countries have reached out urgently to the United States asking for replacements, and there are no replacements. So something's got to give.
These are countries that house American military personnel, and Iran is not attacking civilians or even government in those countries. It's attacking the American bases. Do I have that right?
For the most part, there have been a couple of Iranian suicide drones aimed at the Burj Khalifa, the tallest building in the world that's in Dubai, at the Jebel Ali free port just south of Dubai, and then oddly at the port of Oman and a small town outside of Muscat. I'm not sure exactly what the reason for that would be, especially because it was the Omanis who were trying to negotiate a deal between the US and Iran. But for the most part, the Iranian targets are American military installations. Yes, in specifically the GCC countries, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Oman, and the United Arab Emirates.
We know of 18 casualties, among whom are four fatalities. I don't know the status of the 3 American pilots whose jet planes were shot down supposedly by mistake by the Kuwaitis. I believe that they bailed out and landed safely. If they landed in Kuwait, they're probably safe by now. I mean, Kuwait is not going
That's
to
the report.
harm them or detain them.
Right.
Have you heard from publicly from President Trump or Secretary of State Rubio or Secretary of State Hegseth for a clear delineation of the goal of this war, or a clear articulation of a feasible military goal?
I have not, Your Honor. And I'll tell you, this reminds me very, very much of the run-up to war with Iraq in 2002 and early 2003, where all anybody in the policy community wanted to talk about was initiating hostilities, and there was no plan to get out. There was no plan to try to encourage a stable, popular government. It was just move in, overthrow, and see what happens next. And it's like history repeating itself.
What does the CIA have to do, if anything, with the initiation of these hostilities? For example, on Friday, when this war started, I guess it was Friday evening Iran time, or maybe it was Saturday morning Iran time, I think. Were there CIA agents on the ground in Tehran?
24 hours ago, I would have said that's ridiculous. But it's actually not ridiculous. The New York Times reported that the truth of what happened on the ground is the opposite of what we were led to believe. We were led to believe that the Mossad had the Iranian government utterly infiltrated from the top to the bottom. But the New York Times reported yesterday that it was actually the CIA that had the Iranian government infiltrated, and it was the CIA that passed locational targeting information on the Iranian leadership to the Israelis, that the Israelis then used to kill Supreme Leader Khamenei and former President Ahmadinejad, and virtually the entire military and nuclear leadership. It was a CIA operation, not a Mossad operation.
How did the CIA know that the Ayatollah and his family were in his house at one time in one place?
Well, I think they knew a couple of different ways. First of all, Ayatollah Khamenei was actually pretty public with a statement that if the Iranian people didn't have bunkers to run to, that he would not run to a bunker. And so it was pretty likely that he was going to be either in his house or his office, which were both in the same compound. I don't think anybody could have guessed that his family would be there. I would have assumed his family had run, into hiding. But when the Israelis bombed the compound, they killed everybody. And it turned out to be Khamenei, his daughter, his son-in-law, and a grandchild. You have to wonder, the Israelis have bragged for years about the number of people that they've recruited in Iran. And most of them, at least many of them, were Afghan refugees. Refugees in Iran get nothing. They get no food, no shelter, no medical care, no nothing. And so if you approach these people and you say, look, I'll give you $100 a month to stand on this corner and write in a little book how often General so-and-so leaves his apartment and what time he returns and what route he took when he left, well, that's $100 you didn't have yesterday. That's $100 that you can use to feed yourself if you're a penniless refugee. And I think now that it wasn't just the Israelis that had these operations underway, it was also the CIA. When I was at the CIA, it was virtually impossible to recruit an Iranian. But the CIA was trying to recruit those people at the top. somebody in the Ayatollah's office, or the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of Defense, the IRGC. Maybe they learned a lesson that you should start at the bottom and collect the information from the bottom and use it for targeting, because that's apparently what they did over the last 3 days.
How do you explain the Israeli passion for assassinations?
Yeah, it's pretty incredible, isn't it? Going back to the 50s, the Israelis were very happy to assassinate anybody that they deemed to be a potential threat to the stability of the state of Israel. And, after the 72 Munich Olympic massacre, it took them years to track down, hunt down every single Palestinian terrorist who was involved in that operation and kill them one at a time. Well, they've continued to do that. And the Iranian nuclear program was rather easy for them to target, because many of those scientists would travel overseas for seminars, academic seminars. And the Israelis would knock on the hotel door, say, "We're with Mossad. You're going to either work for us or you're going to die." And I'm going to assume some said, "Okay, I'll take the deal," but most others died. They're very happy. And another thing with the Israelis too, they don't have the bureaucracy that the United States has. There's no gang of 4, gang of 8 that you have to inform. There's no executive order 1, 2, 3, 3, 3. You just do it. You want to kill somebody, you just go out and kill them.